talk about the Bear. You had a note about the audience, the ratings for the Bear season three.
Yeah, some initial numbers have come in. What it's been about, I guess 7 or 8 days now since the Bear has been available to stream. In its first viewing window that they tracked, they got 5.4 million viewers, which is about a million more than they got in the same window from last year. So, I mean, any doubt that this, we're going to talk about this show sort of from a critical perspective here in just a moment, but any doubt that this was not one of the most, popular and anticipated shows was put to bed. I mean, just again, just continuing to build upon the popularity, obviously the Emmys, the ratings it's received. So yeah, 5.4 million viewers.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
for
And of
FX
course,
on Hulu. Oh, yeah,
it feeds into how FX is going. Well, why are you complaining about the binge drop model? It's
exactly,
working. Like, we don't
exactly.
get it. There are reasons. But from their perspective, we're like, we're getting what we want. Tons of people are watching it in the first week, and we're
Exactly.
sitting over here going, like, but yeah, couldn't you like give us more time to
Yeah.
digest?
The Bear,
Um,
the Bear now ranks third among all original season premieres on Hulu. I don't know what, Hulu has a lot of, its own content, but also a lot of things that it partners with. So I don't know what all that tracks, but I don't know what would be ahead of it at this point, but pretty good.
I mean, I don't know if what you're looking at is are they running together Hulu and FX on Hulu?
Yeah, that's my
Um,
question. I mean, like Handmaid's Tale, things like that.
Handmaid's Tale is a Hulu original,
Yeah.
not FX. Um,
I want to spend just a few minutes on something I've noticed this week, which is this season, perhaps more so than the first two. Would you say it's debuted to mixed reviews? I think it's gotten a pretty high critic score. Audience score has been lower than years past, but it's been mixed. Has that been your experience of what you've seen so far?
yeah, it does feel a bit more mixed than, season two seemed universally acclaimed when it came
Yep.
out last year. Season one also, but in a different way. With season one, it was like, oh wow, this show that you didn't even know about. Now
Exactly.
everyone's watching it and saying it's good. Season two, like, oh, we got more of that show we loved last year, and wow, it's really good. And maybe some people had some criticisms about Claire and things like that, but yeah, it has seemed a bit more mixed with season three. I have a couple of thoughts about this in terms of why.
Yeah.
What about you? How do you?
I think generally we've seen a couple of things that people that have said, well, not quite up to the first two seasons have said, um, some of these big storylines or big things hanging out there, we saw zero resolution to them, which I am certainly sympathetic to, particularly the Clary Carmi aspect of everything. We clearly had no real solution or resolution to the what's going to happen as a result of the review. We had no resolution in terms of what is Sydney going to do about the partnership agreement versus the offer from Adam Shapiro. And so I think it was as a result of that, one of the, I think, clear themes I saw, and I've been reading a lot of people's opinions about this show, is that, well, when you don't have any forward momentum, when you don't have any sort of propulsion of the episodes pushing you towards something, or pushing you to something that you're getting some sort of sense of closure or resolution on, it just feels like you're spinning your wheels, and it feels like you are not moving the characters forward on their arcs, moves like you're not moving the story forward and it's on the path that it's supposed to be on. And I just have some thoughts on that in terms of um, there are things that have been brought up, rumors that have come out about sort of how the season three and season four trajectory has been handled behind the scenes, right? So there was a
Yeah,
clear renewal of season three. Very quickly thereafter, a renewal, an order for season four, and there was some thoughts of, Christopher Storer might wanted to have ended this at three. Wasn't sure what he would do for a season four, but that quick of a trigger on getting a season four sort of forced his hand a little bit to make what would have been one season stretched into two. Thus why we got to be continued for the first time at the end of season three, right? Everything's sort of still dangling out there. I think that there would have been more of a closed doors on some of these things if there had been, well, we're going to go for a season three. We'll wait and see what happens with season four and thereafter. I guess my big criticism, because I wrote in my season three recap that I thought, just sort of equating to some of the one of the themes of this season, they talk a lot about Michelin stars. You basically have to be perfect to get a Michelin star. Then you have to be even better to get a second. And I
Mhm.
thought with the first two seasons, they earned it. With this third season, they earned another one. I thought it was just phenomenal. And I guess my question to those that say, how's it moving forward? What happened to our characters? Are they actually going? Nothing actually happened. Is that once we knew there was a season four, what exactly did you want to happen? When you're talking about running a fine dining restaurant, you can't just have everything either succeed or blow up by the end of season three. Then what happens in season four? Well, it's just looking for a new job. You can't have everything sort of every door be closed, every loose end be tied up. Because if you know that there's a season four and you know that they're doing it almost sort of in this back-to-back way, I'm just not sure where else you wanted them to go, sort of create new problems and tie them all up and then leave other ones going forward. I'm just not sure once we knew about a season four. This kind of, I guess, I was expecting that this is how it would go. Maybe that's just my own sort of take on it. I expected that there would be this trajectory that's going to take longer than this season once we heard about this sort of quick turnaround between the two. But that's just me. I thought it was a brilliant season. I'm certainly, like I said, sympathetic to those that thought it was more mixed, but those are just my thoughts on sort of how I view the way that they handle the stories in season three.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think I said last week something along these lines. It does feel a bit like it's half of a season. I think that's okay. It doesn't feel like, in my own mind, it's not a big criticism.
Yeah.
Um, you can sketch out. Like I said last week, I think my expectation is actually we're going to get resolution to all of these questions at the end of season four. So other people are going to
Yep.
get increasingly frustrated. Like, why are you making me watch 5 hours of TV with no resolution? I mean, come on, it's not that much.
Yeah.
Um, at the same time, I think it gives space for episodes like the ones we're going to focus on today, like episodes that from season two that were widely acclaimed, like
Yep.
Forks,
Yep.
or whatever the name of the one was where Marcus went to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Um, that sort of thing. I want more of that personally. And I guess it kind of the broader level question is, well, what do you want out of your TV viewing experience?
Yep.
And to what degree is this a frustration from people who want plot and plot resolution? When I think that what I really appreciate about The Bear is more along the lines of, I don't know, the vibe of the show, the characterization,
Yep.
um, its rhythms, which are sometimes slow and meditative, but sometimes fast and frantic and anxiety provoking, like in the kitchen or what have you.
Hmm.
And so this is the other thing that I think. I don't know what you think about this take, but we were talking about the high ratings and so on. And I do kind of feel like maybe The Bear as a show kind of breached containment a bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the show became too big. The show
It
shouldn't be
became.
that big. What do you think about that as a claim? Because I mean, maybe not all of the people that you're talking about. I get there's
Yeah.
some valid criticisms, but I've seen others who are kind of griping about it, or I saw someone on social media complaining about episode one, and I think their starting point was that it was the best Nine Inch Nails music video ever, which
Yeah.
I agreed to, just like unironically.
You're right.
But well, no, in the background, they're actually saying that is a criticism. They actually thought
Yeah.
it was bad, like the show is too self-indulgent or what have you. Um, and I can
And,
see where that criticism comes from, but go ahead.
yeah, that's the thing. I think is I wrote about napkins this week, and we're going to touch on that soon. knowing that episode one and sort of that music video, that musical interlude, however, we've described a lot of different ways. The Tina episode in Napkins, I think Ice Chips probably was always going to happen, but stretching out that one season into two, what would we not have received if we had to condense it into one? I think that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. I certainly understand people who say, well, seasons two and three, the five best episodes, sort of universally considered the five best episodes, are all outside the restaurant. You don't see the restaurant at all in these episodes. Um, and I guess I would say, do you think this is a show about a restaurant? Because that's not
Right.
what I think this is about. This is about these characters, their past catching up with their present, and what it's going to do to affect their future. And so I enjoy the restaurant pieces. They are very anxiety inducing. They are very sort of dramatic in terms of what they're trying to achieve. But to me, they're not as interesting as following these characters for where these characters end up. I do think, to your point, that this show has gotten so big, maybe the first two seasons was sort of like, oh, look at this cool thing we found, it's sort of, in this, keep it in this circle. Now it's just, you cannot escape this thing. And so I do think there's some of I hate using the term like, casual fans or things like that, but just like, oh, I thought this was going to be, a scripted version of Top Chef or, whatever. And I got, an episode where we are, sitting with someone in labor just, I think that there is certainly some of that as more and more people get added onto the audience.
Yeah, that's sort of what I meant, that
Yeah.
it's gotten big enough that people start feeling like they're supposed to watch it. They're supposed to think it's good. Everyone thinks it's good. How dare
Yeah.
you? And you start to see some of those negative reactions,
Yeah.
even being written. Um, and what I'm tempted to say is, well, maybe it's just kind of not for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Have the courage to be the guy who doesn't watch Succession because he doesn't like it. You
Yeah.
know?
You know somebody like that.
That's true. That's me. That's me. But you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I felt that way about Succession. Like, oh man, this show's a really big deal. I better watch this show. And I tried, and nope, not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so maybe that's the move some people should make with regard to the bear. I don't know. I'm not trying to talk down my
Yeah.
nose to anyone. On the contrary, I hope that's clear. That maybe the bear is a show that some people love,
Yeah.
and doesn't have the kind of broad appeal that maybe others are expecting it to have, given how acclaimed it has been. And that's the source of some of these criticisms. That's my
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yep. I think that's spot on. So I just thought we could address some of that before moving on to do pretty brilliant episodes, but that certainly is out there right now. That debate is happening.
Yeah, and I think, okay, well, we're going to get season 4, and then you're going to get resolution of this stuff when we get season 4, and
Yeah.
so
I'll say one more thing about the issue. So I've mentioned before, I listened to the Parks and Recollection podcast, which is Greg Levine and Jim O'Hare, who both works on Parks and Rec, who are just going through a rewatch and, this sort of popular thing that's happening right now across a lot of shows. They talk all the time about how every season that they were on, even though they were so popular at the time, every season they were on, the last episode, they created it so that it could be a series finale. We never knew if we were going to keep going or not.
mhm.
So when you know that you have a season four and you're going to be quickly rolling into it, you create a season that is going to inevitably go into those things that you want them to roll right into when that fourth season happens. You don't have to plan for, oh, what if we get canceled? What if it doesn't happen? What if, we take a step back? What if it's 2 more years? They didn't have those questions. It was, we're immediately going into season four.
Yeah, and so like, would people feel better if they'd labeled this season 3 part 1 and
Right, right.
season 4 if they labeled it as season 3 part 2? Would that make
Exactly.
people feel better? Is that what it is? It's like, I don't know. Yeah. Mad Men, similarly, I've read, was like that. Every season of Mad Men, they said, if this is the end of the series, we're going to write it in a way where if this is the end of the series, we'll be okay with that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
That's not the case here. And there are all these indications too that maybe they already filmed the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about that virtual press event and the comment that we heard when we went to that. We were talking about that last week, and the kind of oddness of how they responded to this question about it being back to back. maybe
Hmm.
this is the answer, that actually internally it's kind of viewed as one season they filmed all at once, and this is half of it,
Yeah.
and so on.